It's time to check yourself. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. That was a song back in the day, but it to this day still has its moments where it pops in, to your life and you want to have an internal dialogue. If you're listening right now, you haven't heard hip hop music or urban hip hop music. There was a song that used to say, check yourself before you wreck yourself. And I tell myself that often, even as I'm walking around with my suit on and my business suit on. Now, I'm sitting sometimes in some high level places, making some high level decisions. And no one would know inside of me. I'm thinking, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Chickadee, check yourself before you wreck yourself. But people don't know that that's what I'm actually thinking in my head. I want to talk to you today, you CEOs, you boss makers. I want you to actually think about the fact that sometimes in life, and about 99% of times in life, when you are a decision maker and you have some things that you have to be in control of, you got to check yourself, people. And this is one of the things that fires me up. I'm telling you right now, I have some leaders in place that I have put into leadership roles, and sometimes they come to me complaining about their staff. And the first thing I do is I say, check yourself. And they can't stand it. I mean, they get into it with me about this because you can, if you are in charge of a company or a project or anything, and you come to me and you start to complain about the person you put in charge of it, I'm going to have you always, as a leader, I'm going to say, check yourself first. I'm not taking away from the fact that this person might be wrong. I'm simply saying you cannot lead what you cannot see. I want to say that again. You cannot lead what you cannot see. So if you don't see it in yourself first, you definitely won't be leading it in anybody else. So I'm going to give you a live example. I have someone that I put in charge of collecting what's happening in the office throughout the day. We keep a summary of what's happening in our offices throughout the day. And the person in charge of that, they're the leader in charge of it, but they're not actually doing it, if that makes sense. So sometimes within your company, you have heads of departments, and then underneath the heads of departments are the people that are actually getting it done. I go to the head. Okay, when I come around and I'm checking our results and I'm looking at what's going on in this office, I don't go to the people that's doing the work first. I do get to them, but I don't go to them first. I actually go to the head. I'm going to ask you, the head of this department, why is this ball dropping? And if your response to me is, well, they did not report it. They didn't put it in the sheet. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. Okay, but at what point did you notice they weren't doing it? And then what did you do about it? And that's what I'm talking about. I'm going to the head. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Because a lot of times we want to place the blame somewhere else as leaders when something doesn't happen, when something doesn't get done. And I know this is kind of a difficult concept, but I'm telling you right now, it's something that I do for myself. Now, I'm a little sassy and I'm a little bossy sometimes, but I'm going to tell you one thing. When someone brings something to my attention, that a ball is dropped or something, my immediate response, sometimes I want to be fired up and I want to meet fire with fire. But what I have learned to do is I've learned to step back and check myself. Before I respond, if I've received a text, if I've received information from my office manager that something is going on, sometimes I want to fire off. If you catch me at the right time, you might get it. But for the majority of the time, I try to roll back. I go internal and I check myself. I say, hold on, T, I have an internal barometer that goes, did I communicate this well? Is there something wrong with the system that I have put in place as the owner? Because a lot of times, if you check yourself, you'll find out where the wreck is before it actually happens. Sometimes we put these systems in place within our companies, and when we do it, we don't complete them. We don't come back and revisit them. We don't come back and see what's going on with them or where they're broken. And when we don't do that, what happens is it breaks. Someone drops a ball, someone consistently does it. And instead of looking at the person, I want to challenge you to go back and look at yourself. You cannot lead what you cannot see. If there's something inside of you that needs to be seen, did you put something in place? Why does this person trigger you? Why are they causing you to get upset? Why are they moving you to come out of control and move out of your professionalism? Always go back and check yourself. Do you see yourself? Do a self, I call it a self evaluation. Have you done what you needed to do as the lead to make sure that this is happening? Now, in all fairness, if you go back and you check yourself and you do uh, a self evaluation in your leadership, if you do that, and you find that you have absolutely done everything possible as a leader to make sure that you've conveyed the message, that you've laid it out and made it plain. If you've done all of that and this person and you've given them the tools they need, and the tools working. If you've checked all those boxes and they're still dropping the ball, not meeting the mark, okay, now we got an issue, you know. But the key to this is being willing to do a self evaluation. Do you know that one of the hardest things that I have found is when I'm talking to other bosses in my company, bosses, the people that own other companies. Do you know one of the hardest things that when I'm just having regular conversation for them, the hardest things for some of them to do is to self evaluate or to stop and take accountability for what they have not done. And I want to talk to you if that's you today. If that's you today, I have something to tell you. You might not be a boss. You might not be a leader. Yeah. I know that you may have the title of a leader. I know you may have the title of a position that's leading something. But if you don't have this skill set, you're not a leader. Yeah, I said it. You're not a leader. You might be a worker in a leader's position. And I could say that boldly. I could say that with confidence because I've been there. See, I'm not talking from opinion or something that I don't know. There was a time when I worked for a corporation. There was a time where I was that person in that seat. Before I was a boss, I was a worker. And when I was a worker and I sat in that 9 to 5 and I sat in that position, I could be honest, sit here today and tell you there were times where I did not have the proper training, or there was times where I just made shit up to get it done. There were times where I let stuff slide. I put it off to the next week. I said, "Oh, they won't be back. They won't check it for a week from now." And I was that in some areas I slacked. I wasn't perfect. And so I learned that I had to check myself and be honest with myself as a worker and fall on the sword in the areas that I know I was a slacker. Okay. And as a worker, you oftentimes don't evaluate yourself. You constantly look at other people. As a worker, you look at the system, you look at your boss, you look at the company, and you take it apart and you go, this is missing, this is missing, this is missing. They didn't do this, they didn't do that. And so the worker never takes accountability for the stuff. They always have an excuse as to why they haven't got stuff done. So now let's look at the leader or someone that has that position. If you have that position, but you have worker tendencies, you might not be a leader. Worker tendencies is not stepping up to the plate and looking at what you are not doing. Self evaluate. You got to do some things. As a leader, we got to do more self evaluation than the people that work for us. And if you're not willing to look at your crap, you're not a leader. You're walking around with a title, but you're not leading because leaders go to bed every night looking over their day. How can I make tomorrow better? How can I make my environment better for someone else? What do I need to step my game up in so that I can guide my team, so that I can lead my team? That system is not working. It's not the person, it's the system I put in place. And Maybe I lacked in looking at it. Maybe I did too much partying. Maybe I didn't show up to the office enough. Maybe I've been off on other things and haven't paid attention to my business. Maybe I've allowed my personal life to get in the way. And now I wake up half of the day or middle of the day or later in the day, or I don't get to the office until Thursday or Friday. But then I expect people to hold it here when I'm not holding it here. I'm not holding the bar up. I'm holding the bar for everybody else, but not for myself. And behind the scenes, I'm not a leader. So if behind the scenes, you're not a leader, in public, you're not a leader. You cannot lead what you cannot see. So if you have hidden pieces of you, if you're a boss, if you're a leader, if you're a director, high level producer, and you still got some areas of you that need to be worked out, I'm going to challenge you today. I'm going to have you look at the areas of your life that you're not leading. So you have to do a self evaluation before you start to hold others accountable under you. This is a must if you are going to be a leader. It's okay if you're listening today and we're talking this conversation. It's okay if I'm tired of leading. I'm tired of doing. I'm tired of this. I have people. I have leaders like that who don't want to go into their office. They've created such a mess in the office as a leader by not leading that they don't want to go into the office. And because they don't want to go into the office, you know why? Because they want to look at themselves. It will, in order to enjoy going into your office, you have to create the office space and the atmosphere that you desire. But it starts with you. You're the leader, you're leading it. And if you can't see the things inside of you that need to be worked on, fixed, changed, handled, they're not going to be able to see it in them. So I want to stress to you to right now today, I want you, this is your action. I want you to go in your quiet time. I want you to do some self digging, looking at how you've been leading or not leading. CEOs, we got to do some self evaluations. And I know no one talks to us about this stuff because we're large and in charge. You see, we're the ones that are in charge of everything. We're doing everything. We're telling everybody what to do, but we don't have an internal barometer to check ourselves before we wreck ourselves. So do not respond to your project managers or leaders or people that work in your office. Don't match their energy. If they have brought something up inside of you and you got the professional face on, but you really want to meet fire with fire, sometimes you got to do that. Yeah, but not all the time. And if you're doing that a lot, I'm saying you're not doing what you're supposed to do as a leader. Let them say they said it. Go step back, take a few minutes. Take a few minutes. Self-evaluate. Have I trained? Have I communicated? Have I slacked off as a leader? Have I checked yourself? And if anywhere in checking yourself you find something, you need to work on that and fall on the sword and then hold them accountable as well. So check yourself before you wreck yourself because you can cause a wreck if you're not doing self evaluation, leaders. Let's get into it.